She played in the inaugural AFLW season. She played for Melbourne, Fremantle and Geelong. In 2022, she co-captained Essendon to a premiership in the VFLW. It was the first time she'd ever been a captain. In 2022, she made her rugby debut for the Melbourne Rebels in the Super W competition, the Melbourne Rebels' first cross-code player. Scoring a try on debut in Fiji. She was rated top 7 standout players in the Super W season for 2023. In 2024, she signed with the Western Bulldogs in the VFLW and the Melbourne Rebels. From Echuca to the Big Smoke, from footy to rugby, from digging graves to hanging with Harley and Dusty, please make welcome Miarae Clifford. Oh, Mia, welcome to the show and thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for the invite. Geez, that's the best intro I've ever heard. Thank you.
As a ground announcer, you have one of the coolest names to read out.
Really?
Miarae Clifford. It's a 4-syllable component, and there's 5 names out of the Super W and Melbourne Rebels that I love reading out, and yours is absolutely one of them. So it's a pleasure to actually have you here. Hey, there's a reason why I've asked you to come onto the show, and that is because you are actually the first show. You are the first guest on the show. And there's this whole component that I wanted behind this. I've had all the other guests lined up, but I just needed to make sure that I locked you in to get you in because your story from the outside looking in, and I've only seen the outside of it. I am so intrigued by you. I'm so intrigued by you.
Well, it's an absolute honour to be invited on here, and I'm an open book. So whatever you wish to see from the inside instead of the outside, go for it.
Awesome. Let's start with today. Let's go from today back 3 weeks. What have you been doing in the last 3 weeks? Because what you've done in the last 3 weeks, most humans do in about a year's time. Yeah. So what have you been doing in the last 3 weeks?
God, geez, I struggle to remember what I did yesterday. But no, pretty much it's pretty routine now. So for the last 3 weeks, from Monday to Sunday, it's either rugby training or AFL training and working a full-time job 5 to 7 days a week. So Monday morning we get up at 5, run the dogs, get ready for work, go to work at 7:30, work as a gravedigger till when I'm allowed to leave, like it depends on the jobs. So hopefully I'm out by 4:30, fingers crossed, and then it's gym, and then repeat the same thing Tuesday morning, and then it's AFL training Tuesday, repeat the same thing Wednesday morning, and then it's rugby training, repeat the same thing Thursday, and then it's AFL training. Friday night I get off, but by that stage I need to do housework and all the other stuff, run the dogs, and then Saturday morning is rugby training, and Sunday it's gym and just chill day, but
far out.
Life duties.
But so that's your normal week to week, right?
Yeah, for the last 3 weeks, and pretty much as soon as pre-season starts, both rugby and AFL or VFLW, pre-season starts at the same time. So it's go.
So this is the part that I understand, but I don't understand. You are doing an AFL, a VFLW pre-season.
Yep.
You're doing a rugby Super W pre-season. You have 2 contracts in 2 completely different sports.
Yep.
Running at the exact same time.
Yep. Pretty much. It's the only way.
There's no pretty much about it.
Yeah, That's pretty much. Well, I'm pretty grateful because Meditiana has been trying to get me to rugby for over 10 years, but it's always clashed too much.
Yeah.
And then definitely AFLW I couldn't because it clashed too severely and obviously 2 very high contact sports. So then VFL, they changed their season. So it ended up allowing me, and different nights at the club where I was at, so it ended up allowing me a bit more flexibility to give rugby a go. So I was no matter how much it put on me, I was going to give it a crack.
It blows my mind that you just give this sport a crack at such a high level. What was the moment that you were like, hey, I'm playing footy, now I'm interested in rugby?
It was actually, you said it in the intro, we just won the flag. And I'd been going through some personal stuff outside of footy, and Meta said, come down to rugby sevens. So he goes, just give it a crack. It's a bit of fun, and if you like it, we'll go from there. And that's where I met JR.
Yeah.
And who's currently my head coach at Super W. And he had me and he taught me everything I know about rugby and just said, Mia, you've got something. If you want to go to trials for Super W, give it a crack. We just won silver the first time any Melbourne state had beaten the Queenslanders.
Yeah.
They were mad at us, but I just fell in love with it, and it was something really exciting about it that, I didn't want to give up footy, but I was willing to give up my outside life to just see what happens.
Let's go back to the footy. Let's start with 2000. So today's draft day.
Yeah, it's draft day.
Today's draft day. 2016.
Yep.
Was that draft day for you?
It was, but it was a very different compared to what it is now.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see. I'm glad it is what it is now because like you get the same kind of what the boys get, the girls are getting the same now. So like equality in that. Whereas when I went to the draft, I think it was I was never a superstar. So like I didn't go to I think 50 girls went to the first inaugural draft and there was don't quote me, but there was 140 or 80 spots available. So to be honest, on draft day, I was at work and
Wow.
I've said this story before, but I was working at a landscaping at an old person's home and I was up on a ladder with a chainsaw cutting down a tree and one of the old biddies was watching it on my iPad on the thing and she told me I'd been drafted. I didn't even know. She goes, Mia, you've just been drafted. And I was like, what?
How good is that?
Yeah, like it blew my mind because I didn't think I stood a chance.
So what, you don't even know. You're not even there. It's not on your radar. Somebody else tells you that you've made it.
Yeah.
What's that feeling? Well, what's the feeling?
I thought she was just pulling my leg because she was a bit of a jokester, but like I said, I was just an average plain Jane, kind of just loved footy, so I didn't expect to be up there with the big Chiefs. So when she told me, I went and double checked, and then my phone started going bananas, and then the Melbourne coach rang me straight away, and I was like, wow, like he didn't even interview me, and he goes, I didn't need to. Because of just your leadership and the way your teammates respect you. That's what I wanted to build our team. So he didn't call me or anything, and it was just a complete shock.
So do you finish the day at work? What do you do there? You've just found out.
Well, yeah, I kind of rang my boss, and he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I've been drafted. I don't know. We find out next week when we go into the club. Like, it was kind of such a new and crazy world that was just starting. So none of us really knew what it involved or anything like that. So I finished my day out and went home as normal and just waited for another phone call to tell me when training started.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at what age were you in that draft? How old were you then?
30 years old.
30 years old.
So I always tell everyone when they're like, I'm too old, they're like 24. I was like, never say that. I was like, I was drafted at 30 and I'm still playing an elite sport at 37. So I was like, don't ever say you're too old because if it's something you love, you'll push yourself to its limits.
I mean, I'm going back to that piece. Age 30, you're now drafted.
Yeah.
You're now drafted. What's the conversation amongst home, amongst friends, amongst what's going on? I mean, those that know you know you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no one, I guess, like I had a very probably unique upbringing in adolescence and, I wasn't, I loved sport, but I was always told I'd never make it in sport because it was like, I wasn't good enough. I was good at a lot, but I was never excelling at one.
Yeah.
So when I got drafted and then it made it back to my hometown, they were like, what the... And I was like, I know. And they're like, we just laughed at you all those years saying you'd be like, make it as a footballer or anything.
How did that make you feel? So hometown saying, hey, you're kind of okay.
Yeah.
But you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
Now you've made it. Like, what do you do with that information going, I've made it, and hometown saying, oh, we didn't think you could?
Well, the biggest one was actually my high school. So I was never good at academics. I've never been. I was just good at sport. I loved it. I don't know. Just loved it and building stuff. But when I got drafted, they rang me straight away and said, come down to the school and preach how much we supported you. And I said, no, thank you. Because I said, you didn't. You told me to give up on sport and focus on your academics.
Wow.
So
how good was that? How good was that?
That was actually a really good moment because, they didn't think I'd accomplish anything. And now here I still am doing it. So it's kind of a, I proved them wrong kind of thing.
But not just in one element of it, you've now gone into other sports. So we'll sort of dive into other sports that you've been involved with in that at a high level too. I want us to talk, maybe we'll park that for a little bit and think about that high school time when you're being told you're not good at this and you should be doing this because this will make you better somehow.
Yeah.
Where this is not great. Maybe we'll park that and we'll dive into that a little bit later. So you go there and you start playing in the first season.
Yeah.
What's it like? Were you playing at St Kilda before?
The St Kilda Sharks,
Yes,
yep. As it was back then it was VWFL because VFLW didn't exist. So St Kilda Sharks first and then drafted to Melbourne from there.
So what was it like going from St Kilda Sharks to Melbourne? What was that transition like going, I'm going to train this night and then you turn up to training at Melbourne? What was that like?
It was a whole nother level. Like we were also, I just remember even the big high up bosses said you girls brought some unique, amazing energy because the men, this has been their life for
Totally.
so long. When we rocked up, we were like kids in a candy shop. Like, we were so excited to crack in and doing everything at 100 miles an hour. And to be honest, I'd never been in a part of a elite program. I was playing down at the peanut farm where, you know, you've got outside toilets and there's people drunk just on the sidelines cheering you on at training.
Yeah.
So, it was a whole nother level, and it really showed, like, how much we still needed to grow as a women's league. Like, when we jumped so high from that level up to AFLW.
But it's that purity of sport, right? And
Yeah.
the purity of sport is you don't play sport for the external reasons. You play sport because you enjoy it, right? So you now find yourself in a space where you enjoy it, and every little inch that they give you, you're like, I'll take all of that. I love all of this for what it is. And I laugh about the peanut farm because I used to live across the road from the peanut farm, and after, no matter which team had played, I'd be over at the shed doing a few beers and everything else. Yeah, so I loved it down there. So you go into that space. You know, you're the first of a few different things in this piece too. Your personal life then comes out and plays out into the footy space. You know, being the first openly gay couple in footy, which just blows my mind now in 2023 that that's a thing.
Yeah, I know.
You know, that's a thing. What does that do for you?
Yeah, that was a very interesting time in my life and career, I guess, because I was never really told I couldn't be who I was, kind of, and I didn't realise it had to be out in the big wide world either. But when my partner, or my fiance at the time, when she wasn't allowed to write about me in her article, that's how it got brought about, because no one had really spoken about being a lesbian or gay in the women's football world, and especially the men's. So. And that we were on separate teams. Yeah. So Sam Lane got wind of it and just said, do you two want to come out and just be open of who you are and be proud of that, like, and be the first ever gay couple in any AFL or sport. And we agreed to it, but it didn't come without a lot of, I guess teammates were a bit funny about it, and some of them staff just saying, prepare yourself, like, for...
Do you think that was their discomfort with the attention that you would get from it?
I think it was like more fear. Like, they didn't know because no one had ever done it before. Like, no one in the male AFL had ever done it, so they didn't know what could potentially happen. And to be honest, I don't really ever see them in any other sport either that's come out as a engaged couple from two separate teams in the same competition. So... yeah, there was a lot of fear around it, not from me, but more externally. People were worried about backlash and, like, what would happen. And, you know, there was things shouted out from the field and stuff like that, but I never took it personally because I was proud to be who I was. Yeah. And my theory behind it was, if it helps someone in the future not have to go through what I went through and be safe, to be comfortable with who they are, then it's all worth it.
And it blows my mind in 2023 that's a news article. Like, it's a big news day because this has happened in that piece.
Oh, yeah, it still blows my mind that it even had to be a thing. But yeah, it did. But then it changed the way it is now. Like, I know so many people now are comfortable to be proud of who they are, and they play alongside their partners or against them.
You know, it's really interesting you talk about that, and we talk about the AFLW versus the men's game. You know, and the women are leading the way in sports in many different facets. Yep. The women are leading the way in that piece too. Yeah, if we look at the openness of gay couples in the AFLW versus what's happening in AFL, we're still in that space without getting into the detail. The data shows. Yeah. Data shows, right? But still, there's this piece around not being open to be who you are.
It's a difficult one because like, even what we went through, and I know in the outside world people think it's easier to be a lesbian than be a gay man. Yeah. And that's each to their own opinion, of course. But so, like, I don't. What happened to us was pretty bad behind closed doors, and people, and everyone has their own opinion, weren't happy with it. So I can only imagine what the first male will go through, and I don't think they'll have to be, very strong and very, like, okay with themselves and be able to handle whatever comes their way, which I wouldn't wish upon anyone, to be honest. Yeah. And it shouldn't be like that, but baby steps for us. We're trying to show the way, and in the women's league, they are who you are. Be proud of that, and they are getting better at that. Yeah. And then, I can't answer for the men, but it's a shame that it has to be that way still. Yeah.
So you play at Melbourne. You then was it Geelong before Fremantle?
Yeah, Geelong next. Yeah.
So Geelong, interesting. I live in an apartment, and one day we're in the pool, and as we're standing in the pool, I watched this athlete come down, and she's battered and bruised and everything else, and she hops into the pool and she starts doing these, the lunges. And I'm like, well, this is a recovery soreness from the next day. Julia Crockett-Gills.
Oh, Jules.
Yeah, so
I used to live with Jules.
Yeah, so she was walking past, and I'm like, gee, that's hips here. She's like, oh, just don't even. I said, what sport? She goes, oh, I play for Geelong, I play for the Cats. So your journey from Melbourne to Geelong, obviously Melbourne club, so you're kind of close-ish to home in that base. Then it's Fremantle. So then you've got to up and go from here to Fremantle.
Yeah.
Thought process, what were the feelings? How did that come about?
Well, my best friend, Cara, or used to be Denellen. Everyone calls her Juddy. She's from here originally, but she moved over to Freo. So she called me randomly when she got wind that currently she was still the captain of Fremantle. And she called me and was like, hey, would you ever, do you want to come to Freo? And I honestly just thought she was taking the piss. And I was like, sure, no worries. Yeah, good one. And she goes, no, I'm being serious. If you want to consider it, my coach will call you tomorrow. And I was like, what? And then I was actually driving to Echuca to go spend time with my nana because after being delisted and all that, I was like, I'm just going to go home for a bit. And then, so then I got to Echuca and I was like, Nana, I think Freo's calling me tomorrow. And she's like, what? And then, he called me the next day and he goes, look, you were the leading goal kicker. You're the fittest you've been. He just said, what happened? And I was like, look, I don't know, but that's what it is. And he goes, do you want to come to Freo? And I was like, he goes, unfortunately, you've only got 24 hours for the free agency period. And I was like, right, okay, yep, no worries. And I said, look, to be honest, I want to do what I can and play for as long as I can, so I'll take it. I'll take it. And he goes, you can go back in the draft and elect, because that stage you could only elect state. And he goes, but West Coast could also bid on you. And I said, no, that's fine. I'll sign in the free agency. And, obviously there was a bit more than just that. There was that. I sat on it that night, but I just would never have given up that opportunity, when it's just given to you out of the blue.
You're on your way to Nana's, right? Because the heartache of being delisted. How does that information come?
To be honest, this year I actually was the first time I was actually confident I had done enough to retain my spot. So I broke down, to be honest. It was a tough one. Because I've always been kind of don't always assume you got something. But this season, I was the leading goal kicker, the tackles in the forward 50. I thought I'd done my job.
You had all the stats, all the numbers were there.
And so I kind of was like, all right, I think I've earned myself another year. I think I've done enough. And when they pulled me in and said I didn't have a contract, I didn't even ask them why. I was just complete silent. And then when I went to speak, I choked up and I couldn't speak and just started crying and I just left. And my teammates were all in a bit of a shock, and because everyone was there. And
when you say everybody was there, when you walked out, everybody was there?
Yeah, most of my teammates were there, and my best mates were there. And I think they were a little bit shocked too, didn't know how to respond to me, and but they were good. They just let me go, but unfortunately, the hardest thing at Geelong was that was my dream. I barracked for Geelong.
Yeah, there you go.
And my nana was so proud of me, so it was I let everyone down. But the worst thing was I couldn't tell anyone, and we had to do all our functions, and I had to receive my award for leading goal kicker, and everyone was telling me I can't wait to see you next year, and so I couldn't say anything. So it was the most, to be honest, out of my whole career, that month after being told I didn't have a contract was the hardest month, I reckon, in my career to handle, because I couldn't express how I was really feeling because no one knew I'd been delisted. So it was a tough one mentally to handle, to be honest.
Was there anybody at home that knew?
No, so at that stage, unfortunately, me and my fiance, or ex-fiance, we'd split, and I was living by myself.
Yeah.
But I had good friends and everything, but they'd just been given contracts. So you don't want to be Debbie Downer when your mates are happy and stuff.
But even that, so they've been given contracts. Said hey, Mia, this is us, right? This is us. And you're hey.
They knew in the end and they were supportive. I told them, but it was more the families of those girls, and especially the younger kids that I was close with their families and stuff. yeah, they were like, oh, I can't wait to have you back next year in the hoops and, kicking goals. And I was like, yeah, no worries, like, because it hadn't been announced. So,
But you look at that, right? So you look at the brutality of organisations,
yeah.
right? And organisations are built up of the individuals around them. Do you think it could have been done better?
Yeah, until this day, I don't really have an answer to why I was never...
See, even that clarity on the reasons, or given an opportunity to, and I'm not saying, all I'm saying on the human component of it.
100%.
If you're in a situation where there's a question mark over you, raise the question.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we've got this question mark over you. Do you think that there's an opportunity to make that better, or do you agree or disagree? But at least be open with it.
Yeah, well, 100%, because I think, like, I was strong enough to get through it, and that's fine because I'm a little bit older, and I've had a lot of life experience. But I've seen lately, and with just a lot of my younger friends delisted now, with no answers and no questions and seeing, like, and they're the future. Like, these are talented 20 to 22-year-olds just being cut out because of whether it's a personal vendetta or it's just they haven't fit into that, what their plan is, but without, like, any goals there was no excuse really as to why they were delisted, to be honest. And, like, to me, when I see that, like, that'll either push them away from the sport or break them down from all sport or not put them in a really good space just in life in general. So there's a lot in that area for me personally that I see from the outside, and obviously being a part of it myself, that I think they need to do better.
They need to do better. Just hearing that story alone, one being delisted, one having to walk out in front of your teammates, like that for me is like... the other part of going, hey, just keep this hush-hush because we have to do all the official stuff first.
Yeah. That was that. And, like, we had our presentation, like, and like whatever it was, a week or two after, and all the, like, stuff from there, interviews I had to do, and I was like,
after that?
Yeah.
Wow. So in the interviews after you've been cut, after you've been delisted?
Yeah, they didn't know.
Are they talking about the future?
Yeah.
And what are you saying to them?
I'm saying, I can't wait to be back in. Because what I don't want to be mean or rude to the club because I loved that club.
Yeah,
like that was where I was gonna retire. Hopefully, that was my big plan.
Yeah,
but so I wasn't gonna be like savage or say anything mean about it. But
even with that, it's unfair to put you in a position to go, hey, this is what we're going to do now. Just hold the fort. You just hold the fort and play the cards, and not any not throwing any shade against any particular club, but just as organisations, how they, if we
definitely could have been handled better.
Totally.
And I think it still unfortunately happens randomly, whether it's unintentional or not, or they just don't have a protocol in place. But you see a lot of kids bomb out in their early days of their career because it just destroys them
and not come back.
Yeah, unfortunately, I know I could reel off probably a dozen that I've met over the years that have actually been such amazing, talented kids.
Yeah.
And just the brutality of it at such a young age. And we're not full-time athletes, but they're being treated like full-time athletes and just like flicked away like it's nothing. So
you are still having to do the 5:30 run the dogs, go dig graves, do all that sort of stuff. Then all of a sudden, it's you. We need you to give all your all here.
Yeah.
But then your all's not good enough, even though you're here 20% of your time.
Yeah.
And we don't have you at 100% of the time. I'm going to show you a photo. That one.
Oh, yep. So I'm in my Essendon gear. It looks like it's got the grand final badge emblem on there, and I've got about 1 million tapes over my hands. But I've got my hands over my eyes, and it looks like I'm pretty emotional. And my forward line coach, Gavin's got his hands on my shoulders.
What does it mean to you?
That one actually meant a lot, that one. My name was just about to be called out to receive my premiership medal as a captain. And Gavin, actually, he helped me so much. Gavin Urquhart. So he used to play for North Melbourne.
Yes,
And, he took me from someone who had lost all, confidence in myself and my abilities as a footballer. And he was my forward line coach, and he restructured my kicking, my everything, just my mentality, my confidence. And I owe him a lot, actually. He that moment, and I'm pretty sure I've shared this on my socials about thanking him for it. So that year, not only did I win the captain of flag, I won captain of the year and came second in the leading goal kicker in the comp, and he helped me through all of that. And I came to him probably a little bit overweight, underrun, and just I felt like footy had pretty much just burnt me out, but he made me fall in love with it again. And, yeah, I have a lot to thank.
What's that moment like? You're strapped up, you've got a million pieces of strapping tape holding you together. You've gone through this tough journey. How old are you there, 35?
30, yeah, about 35 or 30.
35?
Yeah, turning 36, yeah.
So in your head, you're doing the math, right?
Yeah.
That you can't be doing this for the next 10 years at this high level. So
Yeah.
you're doing the math and you're going grand final time, captain, you've had a good season.
Yeah.
He ignites the fire in you for the passion for the sport again.
Yeah.
Because you can walk away, you can walk into it and you see all the, the sport, you know, all the structures, but you can't find the love for it. And he points you in the right direction to love the game again. What's some of the things that he did to help you find that again?
Well, he just said you're a natural leader. Like I was never the fastest, strongest, tallest, whatever. But like he goes, you just are the consistent teammate, the ultimate teammate that will do anything for your team. And he goes, they're the most important people. And he goes, stop doubting. I'd had a rough year. Like my partner had left, and I didn't get drafted. So I didn't get drafted, and I was told I was too old and I should stop playing, and just all these things. People were telling me like you should just start coaching now, and I was like, but I'm not done.
Yeah.
I'll always go out on my own accord. I'll never let anyone tell me to just go out. So
I have noticed this a little bit about you, Mia, is that you walk to the beat of your own drum, and I love it. I love it so much.
But he just gave me confidence again, and every training session he goes, you've got this. Your time. That was his key words, your time.
Is that the stuff that you remember, the your time?
Yeah, I used to write it on my goal kicking, because obviously I'm not as fast as these young kids coming through now, they're cray-cray. Yeah. So for me, I needed to be smarter where I run, how I use my body, and my key strengths is my upper body strength in one-on-one. So like he worked with me, I would fight him, wrestle him every training after training if I could beat him in a one-on-one, then I could beat another girl on one-on-one. So like he said it's your time. So every time I was going for goal, I'd look down at my wrist and it'd say your time. So it would just be a replay in my head.
Yeah. And that reignites the fire and the passion and the love for the stuff that you would have done even if you weren't on a contract, if you were playing in front of 2 people versus thousands of people in that piece. So you go into that, you end up playing your 100 games.
I would have on grand final day.
Oh, yes,
but
yes.
My coach rested me for one game throughout the year, so then I had to wait till the start of this year to play my 100th. Yeah.
What was that conversation like?
Well, we didn't know.
Oh, no.
We didn't actually know.
Oh, that's okay. I thought you knew and he didn't know. Okay.
Well, I guessed it in my head, and I was like, I reckon I'm close to that, because they don't count. Technically, I'm on 170 something, because they don't count VWFL.
Gotcha.
And VFL and AFL combined, like they do the men's, they combine them all.
Yeah.
But mine, for this, when VFL took over the leagues, they started the clock again for all players. So I was the first ever to play 100 VFLW games.
Yeah.
But then I was like, maybe I am coming close to it. And then I only found out in the interview after we won the flag, I think Libby Birchall said something, was like, man, you're stuck on 99 games. I was like, what? And everyone's like, oh, she's going to play again now. And then I was like, damn you, coach, resting me for that one game. God.
So there's this element of you love the footy.
Yeah.
But then you got to decide to play rugby. Like what was the defining moment of going, I love footy, I'm in this space, I've won a premiership. Hey, I'm going to play rugby.
Because I would have regretted it if I didn't. Meta had been like hounding me for years and years and years. Come to Rebels. I used to come and watch the girls play Rebels when they first had their first game. Like I watched and I was like, I love this. Like I love the physicality of sport.
Yeah.
And then after that flag, and I just said, you know what? If I don't do it now, I will regret it. Yeah. So I'm so glad I did it, even though it's like pushing me to my limits. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
Look, it's how do you go into turning up to a sport that you've watched? Obviously, you haven't grown up with it. You just go pick up a sport as an adult, and in the kindest way, a mature adult in the sport that you're in. So you've got your own grooves in that sport, and you think, you know what? I'm going to pick up another sport. I'm going to learn how to do that. What was the first training session like?
Super W, the lingo. Like I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like this, all of the language everyone uses, and like,
And even the language that they're using, which is English, that you can't understand half of what they're saying in that space.
I'm still sometimes looking at them going, what are you saying? What move is that?
Yeah, just nod and agree.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll be out on the wing. I'll just keep running those routes for you.
So you turn up, it's the rugby thing. What did you love about you? Obviously the physicality, but there's two different types of cultures, right? Like what's the footy culture like versus the rugby culture? What was the cultural difference that you saw, or was there one that was definitive?
No, I think JR was a big driver for me to come across to Super W. The way he talks and his passion for footy and women's footy and just team camaraderie, I love about him. If he's ever told you his family story about when his cousin had to sacrifice herself for her brother to become chief, he had me then and there.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a man that's all about team first mentality, and his culture itself is Māori. Like, I love Samoan culture, Māori culture. I love it how everyone gets together and it's like a family. And I brought a bit of that to a VFL last year.
Nice.
Like Mede's dad's a master carver.
Yep.
And they made, he cut out a main stone for us, and then we all had our little stone that matched the big stone.
Wow.
And I loved that. So I took that to my VFL team at Essendon last year, or this year technically still. And I just said, this stone connects us all to the main, and we are one family. And then the whole motto of don't die like an octopus, die like a hammerhead shark. Oh, it's my favourite motto.
Goosebumps. Like, give me goosebumps.
And then I was hoping to bring, so I brought that back to VFL, the more the family vibe and the more like the fight, we don't stop fighting kind of vibe. And then from AFL to VFL to rugby, I kind of wanted to bring that professionalism that rugby is striving to get to. So we have that at AFL, like it's more established. So I want to bring that to Super W because I just think those girls deserve the world at Super W and be as equally as, talked about and spoken about as AFL does.
And that's that thing, it's the environment, right?
Yeah.
You can be in the professional environment, but then not given the professional attention as well in that space. How was it received bringing rugby culture to footy? Because I can imagine they'd be like, Mia, what are you talking about here? Stones and all this octopus and hammerheads and seafood and stones. What are you doing? Let's just kick a footy.
I think a few of them were like, what? But then we actually have a Māori girl, Manaya, in our team this year at Essendon. So she actually was nodding and getting into it, so that the other girls were like, oh, Mia's not talking absolute bollocks.
Yeah, so that does have some
actually
truth.
A thing. But then, they received it in the end because then my intensity I was bringing back to VFL as well, like about like being hit and tackled and the intensity of that took them to another level. I think they kind of appreciated combining both.
Was it obvious the level of physicality that you brought back? Was it obvious to players at footy?
Yeah, 100%. Because I was telling them they need to stop being such fairies and we need to toughen up. Because I was like, my teammates at rugby absolutely flatten me. It doesn't matter that I'm their teammate or not. Whereas at VFL, it's a bit more bubble wrapped.
It's the etiquette of going, don't hurt. Let's save it for the game.
But then not at rugby. No, I've never been so flattened in my life. I love that though.
Totally. And that's that experience of the more physical you are, the higher respect that you sort of give each other. There's this element of going, oh yeah, we've done this together. You go hard at me, I'll go hard at you. And there's no ego that goes with that. You sort of tap each other on the head and go, yep, let's get on to the next job. In that bit.
Well, it should be that way. It shouldn't be taken personal. Like, we're going to get hit in a game and I need to learn how to be hit because I think that's where some people get it wrong is like when they get tackled, they don't know how to be tackled because they haven't been tackled at training and then they get whiplash and all these other cray stuff.
It's really interesting because I've been asked to help out with footy, tackling in footy and with Aussie rules. And I grew up playing footy before I played rugby. And my theory behind it was I loved footy. We grew up in Hawthorn. We rode our bikes to Glenferrie Oval. We watched Hawthorn run around in the 80s and it was the big hair and everything else. And my uncle was a masseur at the time. So it was Dermy, it was Dipper, it was Jason Dunstall, all that sort of stuff. And so we grew up playing footy and loved to play footy. And then I realised when you do a footy lap or footy warm up and you run 2 laps of a 400 oval, 350 oval, I was like, oh yeah, that's standard. And then I turned up one day to rugby training, like run one lap of a rugby field, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm all in. I am all in. But if you look at that, the physicality and the opportunities to do the things that you do in rugby, in footy, and in rugby in that space. What was the conversation? Obviously, you do that with players, but did you have feedback loops from coaches and from other people going, "What is this that you're bringing?" Was there?
From VFL
from
or
both,
AFL?
From both.
Yeah, I think JR's really loved what I've brought from like the leadership side of things. Because I think they, I've like that was probably one of the benefits. I got to play under a lot of good captains and leaders, and then I've just kind of fallen into that myself. So bringing that to rugby, I think JR's really appreciated.
Yeah.
And then JR just loves, I think, my work rate. So like trying to and bring others along, but having that fun factor.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you can get real lost in the not the seriousness. You have to be serious at all times, but like I don't know what to call it, but yeah, I guess you can be over serious and forget. If you don't bring a fun factor to training, you're not going to get 100% out of your players. So I think I bring that fun, comedic bit as well, only because I've learned over the years if I leave that out, like I fizzle out as 100%. Well. So
I trained with a guy by the name of John Paving in S&C, and through my later years in rugby and through injuries, and what he taught me later in life was how to flick it on and how to turn it off.
Yeah.
So effort on, and then turn it off, have the laughter, but when it's needed, back on again. Because I was here all the time and did the same thing. My head was so, focused on stuff that I missed the other opportunities that were out there as well. Your first game that you played in the Super W.
Yeah.
Not just up the road either.
No, it wasn't.
So you're here, you get named in the team. Let's go back to that. You get named in the team. What were the thoughts? What was going on when you get named in the team?
Oh, it was I didn't expect it because I didn't obviously make it into the first round against the Reds. And then we didn't find out till real late too. So I had to quickly call my work and be like, I'm really sorry, but I'm flying to Fiji in like 24 hours. So
and they're like Fiji, huh?
Yeah,
yes,
right.
You're going to Fiji, right, to play sport,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
And they're like, that's one thing they're actually good with is they're like, yep, no worries, take it. And I was just like, oh, I'm going Fiji. I'm like, do I even have a passport? Like, I was really nervous, and my family was stoked, but like they were pretty shattered they couldn't be there. But I was like, "Don't worry, you're not coming to Fiji. You just relax." And I was like, "I might not get on it anyway, so like it'll be on Stan. Like just take it easy." And then
so let's watch this clip here on your debut.
So here she is playing Super W as well. Good scrum from the Rebels. Tuganga. Ball pass, but it sits up for Ohika's skipper. And the bounce is brilliant.
I didn't know what to do there.
What about the debut for this woman, Miarae Clifford? Unbelievable. Just to hold on and dot it.
We saw that try. We were at home, and it was through the roof. Everything was going flying everywhere. But it gives me goosebumps. The commentary was, how good was that bounce? No. How good was that pickup? Like
it was an AFL drill.
Totally.
Because I lost it in the sun.
100%.
I was like, oh no. I was like, they'll kill me. Because this wasn't in a play.
Yeah.
This wasn't a play.
Yeah.
And we were, after that happened, we actually got in trouble. Not by our head coach, by our backs coach, saying, why did you, lucky that paid off because that was not in any of our plays. And I was like, but I remember it. I came off her boot and I was just like, oh my, that's me. And I'm like, oh no, it's gone into the sun. And I was like, okay.
You know what to do.
Ball flight, go over where you think it's going. You'll watch me stutter step.
100%.
And then I just put my hands out and go, please be where I think you're going. And I'm like, yes. Done.
It gives me goosebumps. I've got big goosebumps.
It still gives me goosebumps.
Because of that whole the concept, right? That it wasn't just the timing of it. Having watched the ball bounce that many times in football, you understand, okay, if I've seen it last doing this, I hopefully know it's going to potentially be somewhere over here.
Yeah.
That's the skill set that you brought. So when they're like, oh, what a favourable bounce. Mate, it's not the bounce. The fact that you're able to time that and pick that up blind, hold on to it, then score a try. What's... you mentioned that you got in trouble for that because it wasn't in the playbook.
Yeah.
You scored a try.
I know. I was still. I didn't know what to do after I got it down. I was like, oh my god. I'm like, hey teammates, and I was like, and then I realized I had to do the conversion. I was like, all right, calm your heart rate down. Like, geez.
So how does it go through that process? You do that. Now you've got to convert. Now this is your kicking style. How have you learnt your kicking style versus your normal drop punt kicking style? How have you learnt the place kicking versus that?
It's so I actually, before I played AFLW and everything, I actually dabbled in a bit of gridiron. So I had the natural arc to kick anyway. Like, I preferred that kicking style. It took AFL about 10 years to get it out of me to keep my hips straight.
Wow.
So then when JR, I didn't do any kicking at Rugby Sevens.
Yep.
Because they wanted me for my aerial stuff. And then at when I started at Super W, because they'd obviously lost their main kicker in G, who went back home, they were like, do you want to, have a go at it? And I was like, yeah, I actually quite enjoy the kicking. Yeah. And then Latu saw me and he goes, nah, she's your kicker. And he helped me a lot.
This is the thing that I find just in rugby itself. You have a player that comes from footy.
Yeah. And
people go, oh, you do this, but we've got a kicker. And I just sit there and I just go, get this person to kick. And once they kick, they go, where'd they get that from? Because sometimes if you don't watch footy, you don't understand the components behind it. You get any footy player to kick a football, they're already ahead of majority of rugby kickers. Now, you're kicking a conversion versus kicking a goal. What's the similarities? What are the differences?
I think having a routine is the same. So, they're very important for both, for me. But then just the focus on the ball and, where you need to go to then look at the ball, and it should be on the ball the last time you look, and you shouldn't be looking at the goals. Yeah. So again, a routine. But I actually, I have you'll notice probably in both, I have a little Irish skip.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why. I can't get rid of it. It's just there. They tried to get rid of it, made it worse.
Yeah.
But and I just think just that focus, and then your biomechanics, your hip movements and your it's a follow through. A lot of people stab. Yeah. And you don't need to overpower yourself. Technique will make it still go 40. It's because I don't have a big run up like a lot of the other rugby girls do. I was like, mine's kind of a walking pace and then a kick. Yeah, yeah. But I was like, that's how I do my AFL as well. So. But
it's that swing that they're not used to. They're used to power off the hips and then pushing. Here I am talking about kicking like I'm an expert. I'm a front row, I'm a prop. But I can see the differences in that. It's that power from that step into the kick versus what you do in footy when you drop punt or however you kick, you just on the ball, and it's the follow through that matters the most. Yeah.
Well, they say who'd they say I kick like Barrett?
Yes,
because I scissor after I.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick funny story. We're at the Super Round of rugby, and here we are on the Super Round of rugby, and they've got this contestant out of the chairs. She's come down, she's doing some stuff, and she's sitting down next to me. And I'm like, hi, what's your name? She introduces herself. And so I'm like, I've got to interview her because she's won this prize. And so I start saying to her, so what are you here? You're here? She's like, I'm watching my boys play. She's pointing to the little kids running around. So I'm like, oh, yeah, no worries. So I start to interview her, and you've won this prize to Fiji, and well done, and blah, blah, blah. And then afterwards I said, which one's your boy? And she goes, oh, no, my boy's Barrett, that Barrett. She's the Barrett's mum, and we've pulled her out of the crowd into here. She's won the trip to Fiji to watch her sons go and play, and we're like, your son's could have paid for you to go, yeah. She's like, exactly. She's like, yeah, they could have. We now get to a time in rugby where there's, and this is amazing, right? You have your own name on your jersey.
Yeah.
The first time that this has ever been done, and it gives me goosebumps because as a kid growing up, you watch other kids in different sports and they have, and all you want is your name. Yeah. Even when you get team kit, it's like there's my initial or there's my name, that's mine. This is the photo. This is the photo I want you to talk through. What was that moment like?
Yeah, that was for the cultural round too. Yeah. So my whole Essendon team surprised me. So my teammate Alana Barber took that picture. Yeah. She told me to turn around and just put my arms in the air to be holding up Amy Park. So it was a special moment. I never thought I'd make it even to this level to even play for the Melbourne Rebels in rugby, being so new and old because everyone else calls me old. But and then to have, when I ran out for that game, my whole entire team, so I was their captain that year, came out to cheer me on. It was beautiful and it meant a lot to me. And to be able to wear that jumper and have my name on it. I don't think I've ever had a jumper with my name on it in my whole entire career, because AFL don't do that either. You have your warm-up top.
Yeah.
But I've never played with my family name on the back of my jumper before. So to be able to wear that and have my name and have my family, as in my teammates there, was pretty amazing. We didn't get the win, but that game was so much more than just about a win or a loss.
And this we talk about the professional element of it. Like this is the stuff that you dream of as a kid.
Oh, 100%. And I didn't realise until, obviously, they did tell us that. I didn't realise. I always thought rugby had the names on shirts. So it was pretty special to be able to be the first team and player as well, team, to be able to wear your name on your back.
And this is, for me, it's this element of true acknowledgement.
Yeah.
True acknowledgement. And you hear it through rugby that you're the custodian of the jersey for that time that you have it.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That's your jersey and that's your name on it. So you get
I actually
that
have that jersey too.
Yeah.
We were given those at the end of the season, and I'm getting it framed because I haven't got a tattoo of it yet, but everything on my body is a tattoo of a moment or a place or a time, and I haven't quite figured out what my tattoo for Rebels will be yet, but it'll be something significant.
Maybe something across the cheek.
Oh,
down
cheeks?
the neck,
Down the
neck, down the neck, starting from the ear all the way down the shoulder, down the neck.
I already get yelled at enough for the tattoos where I have, and they're not even on my face or anything. But
so the tats, it's really interesting too, because you see a little bit of difference in the tattoos in VFL and AFL that go around, and the tattoos that are in rugby.
Yes,
some are similar, but some are very different in that component. When did it first start?
I reckon I would have been maybe 18. No, I think I waited till I was 18. My family have a tattoo shop back home in Echuca, so I waited. I was a good girl, and I waited till I was 18, legal age. But they all mean someone or something or a time or a place or something that was really special to me. Or even if it was a bad moment now, back, it still made me who I was today. So.
Talk me through that. Like you have these moments that you look to remind you, or moments to, how does it work with that? I'm clean skin. I don't have a tattoo. And everyone's like, not one. Everyone's like, you're a Tongan, you're a Pacific Islander, you don't have a tattoo. And I'm like, I do not have a tattoo. And I actually want to get to an age where they're like, you are the only Pacific Islander that doesn't have a tattoo.
You might be close.
Yes, I think so. I think so. I'm also scared of needles, so I think that's the reason why.
Yeah, I hate needles too, but for some reason tattoos it's different. No, I've got my premiership tattoo on here. This one here is the whole team when we got our cup.
Wow.
So good was our memo for 2022. But no, they all, I guess, a bit of a more meaningful thing is my dementia runs in my family.
Okay, yep.
On both sides, unfortunately.
Yeah, wow.
So there is a high chance, just like with any other thing, that it could fall upon me. And that's I have a book that has every tattoo meaning written in it. So unfortunately, touch wood, it doesn't get me. But if it does, I'm hoping that it'll be able to tell my story to myself, kind of thing. Man,
goosebump moments.
But some are good, some are bad. But that's what made me strong and what made me who I am today. And it's I guess I don't want to forget. You don't want to forget the bad times all the time, because it makes you who you are today.
Totally.
It's not horrible things. It just means it was whatever it was, a place or a time or a person that didn't end up sticking around, or but they all are very important to me. So they all tell a story.
With that, have you thought about cover-ups? Have you thought about removing some? Have you thought about those sorts of things as well? I
have thought about one. That was my ex-fiance's, but I decided against it because, again, I wouldn't be here today, and I could have been married and had kids and not been playing rugby. So I haven't covered it up. I've made it blend in a bit more. Yeah. But it's still there. It's still there. It's right there. It's that diamond in there. It's just I've got to finish this tree. But it's not covered. Nothing goes over it. It's just not so solo anymore.
Let me also just talk about before you played rugby at Amy Park.
Yeah.
What else did you play at Amy Park?
Oh, yes.
That's what I asked. So I'll show you this photo here.
Yeah, that old bad boy. Oh, that's a nice photo you've got up there.
Yeah.
That's not there's more revealing ones than that.
Look, what's really interesting, and we're looking at the Ladies Gridiron League.
So they called it Legends Football, LFL.
LFL,
so in America, though, it was originally Lingerie Football League.
Yes.
And then they changed it to Legends Football League and changed the uniform just slightly, less lace.
Yeah. Let's just watch this clip here.
Oh, there's a clip?
And this is a tough defense. Let's meet them.
Brie Rosado, defensive lineman.
Jeff Davey, cornerback.
Miarae Clifford, free safety.
Harley Greenwood, strong safety.
And what two awesome weapons in the back of the defense. Miarae Clifford, Harley Greenwood.
Yeah.
So you get quoted on that too, like not just the fact that it's there.
I've never even seen that.
Oh, really?
No.
There's so many other clips.
Oh,
and
really?
I tell you what, I
I must be terrible at Googling.
Oh, it's all I do is research. I tell you a funny story just with that.
Mm-hmm.
Today I went to Kmart and I was, this is a little bit off script, just a chat. We were doing a KK.
Yep.
And so it's a $20 KK and you put anything. So instead of getting KK for 5 people, all I did was took photos of myself and put it into a frame with a $20 note. So as I was doing that and I was sitting at Kmart bringing it up, because that's the last stuff that I was working on, I have all these photos of you pop up on the thing and I'm trying to go delete, like just deselect. And people are walking past just going, what the? And I'm like, deselect this. And I pull my phone out of the thing and I bought a light, which is a box, and I put that and I put it up in front of the screen and I was just like, because there was a lady that walked past me and she gave me this look of, you are not printing those up, are you? And I was like, no. And I wanted to explain, but then I would have been, I'm interviewing Mia and she'd be like, yeah, whatever, mate, whatever. So
you
yeah,
keep telling yourself
totally. Actually, after this, I'll show you my phone and all the photos of all those photos.
That's hilarious.
So it's a different sport, another sport.
Yeah.
Well, how did that come about?
That was, at that time I was engaged to Penny Cooley-Reid, who was the quarterback, right?
Ah, gotcha. Yep.
And she originally heard about it and wanted to try out because it was America coming to Australia, and there was tryouts for the Vic Maidens. And she goes, can you just come? I was like, I had no interest in it. I was like, yeah, cool. Like, go do it if you want to do that. That's amazing. And she goes, no, can you come with me just to support me? And she goes, just do the tryouts, but, don't worry about it. And I was like, yeah, cool. I'll do the running and I'll, hit the bag and whatever. And she was going for quarterback. I was like, I'll just do whatever. I don't know. I didn't even know the rules. And, went through the tryouts and there was about 400 girls. Like,
wow.
A lot of girls wanted to give it a crack. Yeah, it was actually huge. There was a lot of girls turning out for it and then each state as well. And then the drills were really cool. Like, I hadn't kind of figured out what the uniform was though at that stage. I was just grabbing this ball and going, sweet, I can run with it without bouncing it. I was like, this is great. And I remember meeting the head guy, and he still runs it in America.
Yeah.
And he gave me a number on my arm and all that stuff. And I think I made one hit on a bag, like, because that's what we do in AFL.
Yeah.
And he just said, what's your number? And I was like, I don't know, 32. And then that was it. And then at the end of the day, they called out our numbers and we'd both made it. And he goes, you've made it through the first stages, come back in, another week and we go through the final stages. And I was like, oh, all right then. I was just coming to support my fiance at the time, but we both made it into the team and then the rest was history, really.
You talk about professionalism and Americans do sports so big.
Yeah.
Was it the same? I mean, what we see there is a big production in sport.
Yeah. Was
behind the scene the same?
Yeah, it was. A lot of people, to be honest, we went through hell playing that. And I can only speak on behalf of me, but also I can say for Penny, she got put through hell because she was the big name of AFL at the time.
Yeah.
AFL hadn't started yet, but she was a big name in women's football in Victoria, and she got put through hell with that because they told us that we were an embarrassment to women in sport.
Yeah.
And it was actually quite hard for her to hear. She got kicked off the Vic team that year as well, and they say it was purely selection, but politics.
Totally.
So that's how I read it anyway, being her partner at that stage. And a lot of people shunned us, and I was like, take away the uniform and actually go and have a look at watch our trainings. Like the men weren't sleaze bags.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like, oh, the blokes just crack on. I was like, no, I had never trained so hard in my life. They made us train, be hit. I think I was the fittest I'd ever been. I had abs, for Christ's sakes. Like, it was nuts. And the behind the scenes, all that computer stuff, they were all Americans that had come over with the same guys that had done the LFL in America. They were doing it here, and we got to play on these stadiums that no female had ever played on.
Exactly.
And I was just like, this is crazy. But we got a lot of grief for it though.
Yeah, I think that's and I ended up watching a lot of it, and for the ultimate purpose to watch. I was so amazed by the physicality. I was so
crazy.
amazed by the speed, the impact, the contact. You do that, and then you get given a uniform that's like, none of this has got anything.
Oh, I didn't
do
like
with
the
this.
uniform. Like none of us did, but we were like, I love the sport, and I was like, I forgot what I was wearing when I was out there because I was like, I'm ready to hit that.
And you can see when you're in the zone, when you've got athletes that are in the zone and they're in the zone.
Well, our argument was the uniform was no different to a beach volleyballer or an athletics girl running track. But it was just, they did sexualize it. And you saw that. Like, when they zoomed in on someone in the crowd, it was some bikie with a footballer.
Yeah.
Like, it was, they didn't help us either.
Yeah. Like, there was some footage on there that I showed, that I found, and you laugh because when you see it in the movies and they're all doing their star jumps. Yeah. And you're watching how many of these star jumps you got to do, then up downs with the star jumps, and you're like, that looks pretty hard.
Oh, it was honestly one of the hardest trainings I've had to do for any sport, and we didn't have to train in that either. We trained in a full gridiron kit.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the most. Rugby still hurts me more because we're not wearing a giant helmet, but like that helmet we wore, if you just saw it then, like it's a hockey helmet.
Yeah, totally.
There's no protecting your face.
There was
like
from here up. Yeah, from
when
here
you
up.
got hit, that got squished into your face.
I'm watching this whole thing going, that, and then the pads that can be easily ripped off, and I'm like, I don't even know what.
There was
what
no
this
protection
is.
really, but it gave you that persona that was like, I'm protected, and so you'd go in like a bullet.
And the physicality was huge.
It was huge.
Physicality was amazing. You spoke earlier about it runs in your family. What's this photo here?
So they're my three younger brothers,
Yeah.
Luke, Trent, and Jake. That's at the shed back at home. That's my ute up on the hoist.
Nice.
My brother's fixing it for me.
I love it because it's all the leg tattoos.
Yeah, we've all got.
legging.
Do you know what's funny though? Like me and Luke. So Luke's the middle one there.
Yeah.
He's got the beard and the beer in his hand. He's just turned 30, so he's the closest to me. The younger two are 14 years younger than me, so they're still quite young, 23, 22, and they were naked not that long ago, those two on the outside. It was just me and Luke. They had a couple of the arm tattoos, but then bang, in a year, just covered everything. So.
What's it like to? Are you in charge of these boys?
Oh, it's no. Nah, they know I'm their older sister, but they've come and support me over the years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get to see them a lot. Like, probably been hard. I mean, Luke, the middle one, I've got two little nephews, and one of them's just turned 1. Like, I haven't seen a lot of them. I've missed most of their big birthdays due to sport. You do miss a lot with the sport, and
it's hard, right?
Oh, it's hard, and I guess people don't see that side. They just think, oh, you just play sport, and I was like, yeah, but I miss a lot. Like, I lose a lot. I guess that's what keeps driving me. I'm like, I can't give up now. Like, I've already given up so much of my personal life. Like, I may as well see it out to the end now. Otherwise, what have I been training for so long for?
What support do you get from your family around that?
My mum was so stoked that I played for Essendon because she goes for Essendon.
Oh,
so
nice.
I was
You've
at
ticked the box,
Geelong, Melbourne, everywhere.
Yeah.
They're Richmond supporters, so sorry, boys, didn't get that one for you. But like my brothers have been to a lot of my games. My nephews have seen me play. Like they've got football signed for me when I played AFL. They got to see me AFLW, and then they haven't seen me play rugby yet, but they did see me play gridiron. Like, and they loved it because they're physical boys.
Yeah.
And, they're really good. Like they understand. At the end of the day, they're still my family, and they still love me, and I still love them. But yeah, I have.
For now, you've got a journey that you want to be on,
and I want to show them, like, no matter what or whatever life throws at you, like you can always do whatever you want, whatever your passion is.
Exactly. The tattoo shop.
The tattoo shop, yeah.
The tattoo shop. Tell us about the tattoo shop.
Tattoo Nation down in Echuca. It's the best tattoo shop going around. Now my cousin, Squirrel, we call him, Squirrel. And Reggie's one of the main. Reggie's done most of mine all over my body. And the last couple of years, I've gone a bit closer in Melbourne, so don't tell her. I'm sure she'll figure it out when I go home. She's like,
she'll
what's
go back and count. She'll go, you're up to 38. Hold on. 2 extras.
Nah, but they've been a part of my journey because they have to tattoo it on my body. So, but they're awesome. Like, I think they're the only tattoo shop in town and back home in Echuca, and
when you're sitting there in the chair and getting a tattoo, because I would have no idea. Is the conversation around, this is what the tattoo means to me?
Oh, well, normally the planning of it, I'll tell Reggie what it means, and then because she can then, I'll give her an idea, or someone else, I've seen it in a shop or a book or something, and she'll change it to suit me.
Yeah.
So when she finds out what's behind it, she'll change it so that it's unique to me. It's not just straight out of a book or straight out of a TV show or wherever I've seen whatever picture it was.
Yeah.
She'll transform it so it suits me. So that's the best thing about her, because the more you tell, the more information you tell her, the more she can turn it into something that suits my body.
There's this element of well-being that you're really engaged in around. Why is well-being so important to you?
Well, I guess everyone has a story. Everyone has their own lives. Everyone goes through stuff, positive, negative, up, down. I think the more, my nana always told me, no matter what happens to you, don't do that to others and always be kind.
Oh man, that's so good.
So, yeah, no matter what's happened to me or if someone's horrible to me or whatever, like I couldn't do it back to them. I'd rather be the bigger person and the better person, and to be honest, they're the ones probably struggling. So you try and find the goodness in the darkness, I guess.
How's that been for you? To try and find the goodness in the darkness? Because those things are easy to say. They're hard to actually, when it gets to the element of it, to go, I need to be the bigger person and I need to see that this is some of their pain and not me.
Oh, I guess, like, you got to read the person. You got to try and read the room, read the people, read the person or the situation, whatever it may be. But, there's been days where I haven't been able to, I've lost it and just gone, just stay away from me or, or I'll walk away. Normally, if I walk away from something, it means I'm about to explode. So I'll know, but I've had to learn that. So, like, over the years, I might have lost it. So then I've learned, I guess if you've walked a dark line yourself, you can figure out when someone else is nearly on that dark line as well. So you find I've had to figure out my own tools of how to get me out of it, sort of thing. So I'm grateful for that, though, as much as you don't want to walk those dark places. But if you do, you have the tools to help others.
And I think that's, we talk about with it, what we're trying to do here is tell these stories of people's journeys, and we play in the shadows and we go deep in that piece. The dark moments, what advice would you give to yourself, your 16-year-old self, with going through some of those dark moments? You're a leader in sport. You're a leader, and you have these young kids following you, that admire what you do.
Yeah.
At age 36, age 37, some of these are still teenagers coming through, and so they see you and all the double contracts and this and all the rest of it. But around, especially in the professional sporting space, that there are moments that will crash you and bring you crumbling to the ground, and there won't be people around there to wrap their arms around you.
I reckon that's why I'm still in sport, because I'm afraid, not afraid, but I want to be there, because once you're out of the system, it's hard to get back in to even help. Like, I'm not trying to win for Brownlows or anything like that now. I'm trying to just finish out my career, as many years as that may be, have a good time, but help as many people along the way as I can, whether they're young, mature, or anything. Just that's all I want to do, is to help for the next couple of years. And I don't want to not be in the system because I'm afraid I won't be able to help them. And I guess that's my goal. It always has been to help others, I guess. With work, footy, rugby, life, everyone has pain, everyone goes through things. And if I can help in one tiny little way that'll help them set up their future, then I think that's been a pretty successful of my life journey.
It's this sport. Sport is this place of escape. It's an escape. You leave your world there, and you bring in this. I have this theory that rugby is life and life is rugby, and you can add in any sport into that. But the element to it is that you leave your bag, you leave your baggage with your bag, you cross a line, and you go and be present in that space. And then you re-energize yourself so that when you go back to your bag, you put on the world, you're actually giving yourself a break from that. You can take on and continue from there. I've found that through my own journey through sport, that I've helped or been around, and people have helped me through sport. Yeah. Through going, hey, you're a bit flat. And it's not even about an emotional thing. It's about, mate, you used to hit that, or you used to tackle that, or you used to do that. Your energy's off a bit. And it was just that element. After training finished, somebody walk up to you, go, hey, mate, are you okay? Yeah. You're just a bit flat.
Well, I think especially if you've come from, I have family, I'm not saying I don't, but when you're not around your family or, they've now got their own lives and kids, footy becomes your family.
Yeah.
So, like, one of the coaches said to me last season, they're like, "Man, why are you still playing? Like, you must be exhausted. Just retire." And I was like, I will know when I'm ready to retire because right now I'm not. Footy's my outlet. Footy's my happy place.
Yeah.
When footy becomes not my happy place, then I know I'm ready to retire. But I was like, I come here and I tell the girls that, well, it was funny you just said that because as a captain, I always told my girls, I was like, no matter what happened today or yesterday, we are here, you are free.
Yeah.
That was my motto, was like, no matter what is going on outside of this club, right now with me and the rest of your teammates, you are free. So just empty your mind
Totally.
and be free. And when training finishes, we're here if you need a chat, continue on. But I was like, always use this space and this 4 hours, because we train for like 4 to 5 hours. I was like, for these 4 to 5 hours, you are just free to be who you want to be.
That is so beautiful. And it's bringing a tear to my eye because I've watched a lot of young kids who turn into adults who, using that terminology, you're free.
Yeah.
There's nothing that weighs you. You do what you want here.
Yeah.
You're free to be who you want, whatever that looks like. And then once you finish, you go home and you do that.
Yeah.
It's that is so inspirational.
But it gets missed, I think, a little bit now because everyone's so focused. Because now that we are becoming, not in rugby world, but in the AFL world, you're a paid athlete. So, like, yeah, I hope there are leaders out there still saying, like, come here and be free and be who you are. Just because now that you're a paid athlete, don't lose that element. Like,
How many of the elite space are still loving the sport? I mean, it's hard because when it turns into a full-time job.
You can definitely tell who's there because they love footy.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell who's there because they're like, sweet, I can do this and I don't have to get a full-time job.
Yeah.
And it's when you have those conversations, like I've met a few recently, and you can tell who's there for the right reasons. And I might be just old school, and but I'm there. Like, you should still pick up your bib, put your bottle back in the thing. Like, just treat it like if you're a true footballer and like you love the footy and you want to grow it for the next generations, those are the things you'll continue to do. But it's the people that want things just for themselves now and don't care about the future of the game. That's when it gets annoying for me.
It's something that, and you probably would have heard it through JR and Mitch being All Blacks supporters, that, clean the sheds because the All Blacks did that. And they have this theory of like the All Blacks did and they're so great. But if you go back to what your nan said, of being kind, being a nicer person, that is picking up your bibs, that is carrying the bags, that is doing all those elements. And there's spaces sometimes that we miss through sport because the outcome is much greater, which I get confusing because if you're safe here and you're doing these things, then the outcome is open. Like when your outcome is just this, focus on this, then you're not pushing yourself beyond what the boundaries look like.
I think as well because rugby for girls and women probably don't have as much... what's the right word? So in AFL, like they've hired 1,000 people that do everything. Yeah. Rugby, they don't have that yet for the women. So like I think that's where AFL's starting to lose it, going, oh, they've hired such and such, such and such, such and such. So they're there to pick the bibs up from the bottles and the bags. Whereas rugby, they don't have all those staff members. Yeah. So the girls still now, which is what I love because it's like this is what it should be like still in any sport. Like pick up the bib, pick up that bag. Like
I used to look after the Super Rugby teams as they came into Melbourne. And the Australian teams were the worst to look after because the bus will pull in and you're like, and they're like, grab the bags and do all this sort of stuff. The Kiwis, the South Africans, they'd get off the bus and they'd grab their equipment and they'd be like, how are you? What's your name? And they know your name. So it was a really different element because they learnt that piece. The Aussies would get off the bus and they wouldn't speak to you. They wouldn't talk to you. They would talk to you through their manager. And this is at captain's runs and things like that. The Kiwi teams come off. Oh, totally. The Kiwis and the South Africans will get off, and then because your name's on the sheet, they're like, "G'day, Al, how are you? Oh, what size shoe?" Like it was just a completely different environment. And I used to sit there and go, "Well, South African rugby and New Zealand rugby are at a much higher standard than Australian." Yeah. I used to sometimes just go, "Boys, pull your thumb out."
Yeah,
like it's not about you.
There's no privilege here.
100%.
We're all equal.
Moments that change your life.
Oh, geez, big one.
That's a big one.
Have you got a photo back there?
No, there's no photos here. There's not one to catch you out. There was a photo that I was going to put up of your first a snowboard in a bag.
My first what? Oh,
I think
with my
Instagram.
cat.
Yeah, with your cat.
Oh, God, Ronix. Yeah, she's 12 now. She's still kicking around.
Moments that change your life.
Moments that changed my life. definitely being drafted changed my life.
Yeah.
It made me realise it probably gave me that platform to help others more, to be honest. When I did come out, even with all the backlash that came from it, and I've told this story 1,000 times, when I got to design the jumper, that it just took one boy at the sidelines to call me over and said thank you for being you, because it made him comfortable to be him. It made it all worthwhile. Just one person. So being drafted helped me realise I can do more good in the world than not being drafted, I guess. So grateful for that. And then a moment that changed my life, and I was actually quite surprised you didn't bring this one up, but there's a picture of me and my nana.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my Geelong jumper.
Yes.
She's got my jumper on as well, and we're all looking at each other with my number 7. That was probably the proudest moment of my AFL career, because Nana, she raised me a lot growing up in the country and stuff, and I just wanted to make her proud. And she always used to tell me, you're the first, Clifford, to do something cool in the paper instead of in the paper for other reasons. So,
well, what's that? I mean, what's that like? What's that like having, you change the trajectory?
Yeah, well, I guess it didn't, most of my friends too from back then, they were like, oh my God, you don't have a beer in your hand, or you don't have this in your hand, you're not a party animal anymore. So it was kind of just breaking that cycle of when you're told what you're going to turn out like, and you don't do it. And I had to do a talk actually where a teacher was, it was down in Moynton, they hired me to talk about, you were told you weren't going to accomplish anything in the sporting world, and you did. But and then a teacher actually asked me, she goes, I have a student that all he wants to do is sport. Yeah. But at this current, he was only in grade 4. And she's like, but he's got no sporting abilities. And I was like, you don't know what he's capable of when he grows up. I was like, I didn't probably have great sporting abilities either, but I just knew it's what I wanted. So I worked hard and I busted my ass. And I said, to be honest, no matter what degree you've got, you have no right to tell a kid he can't be what he wants to be. That's up to him to go through in life. And if he doesn't succeed, then he has to learn what it's like not to accomplish something. It's a growing mechanism as well. I was like, but if you're telling him now to give up at the age of whatever it was in grade 4, I was like, that's not really helping him out at all. You're setting him up for failure. Maybe he might become now a bloody astronaut or a tennis player or a golf player. I said, to be honest, I just don't think it's up to you to tell someone at that age that they can't do something.
What was their response to that? Because teachers come from a different aspect. Yeah. The schools are come in and we want you to deliver this message, and when you deliver a completely different message, it's you're kind of off target here, off target.
No, she actually received it pretty well, because I said people said the same things to me, and yet I still finished year 12. I might have struggled, but I still did it just despite them. Yeah. And then I still accomplished a lot in my in the sporting world. I was like, and no teacher pegged me for that. So I was like, if that's all you need to just give him a chance, just give him a chance. And even if he doesn't succeed, at least he tried. And that's all part of being a kid.
Totally, but this is where for me, this is where sports provides all that. It boosts you in success. It wraps its arms around you in failure. Sometimes it drops you on your head.
Yeah.
But you've got to learn to bounce back up. We're watching all these little athletics and watching these kids run the 400, and not one kid got off the 400 at the finish line and we're like, yeah, that was awesome.
That was so much
They
fun.
were all just falling over in pain, some crying, some not even finishing. But they did it. They ran the 400. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I just sat there back as an adult just going, watching these under 10s and just going, far out, you just ran 400. You're asking an adult now to go out there and just run a 400 because it's on your schedule, and every excuse under the sun and all the reasons why not to, and why it's unhealthy to do that, and because of this and that. But these kids, and it just reminded me this is what sport does.
Well, it gives you some kids need that camaraderie as well. You might not excel in being a professional athlete, but sport gives you so much more than just being an athlete. And I think people forget about that. Yeah. It helps you grow mentally, physically, and along with people. You also learn that communication with other people as well. You might not be best friends with that person, but you know how to talk to them and communicate and read body language. Sport taught me my whole life pretty much.
That's the theory I have. Rugby's life, life is rugby. Sport is life, life is sport. You need people in your team. Everybody needs everybody. in a particular space, and there are rules of engagement that you need to abide by.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. There are boundaries, and you've got to do this because if you don't, there's a consequence. And sometimes the consequence is you're out of the game. You're not involved in social groups or whatever it looks
benched.
like. You're benched. Yeah, exactly. You're benched.
It does teach kids more than what I guess everyone focuses so heavily on academics. Because I guess that's the way our country is going. Like, you have to be smart to even get a job. Even though you might be good on the tools, if you don't have that qualification, they don't look at you. But
let's talk about qualifications. Let's talk about qualifications. Digging graves.
Yeah.
Digging graves. That's not your, hey, what are you doing? Just digging a grave. How did that come about? Like, how does that start? Like, you're never out of work, I guess.
That was the benefit of it.
Yeah.
That you're always got a job 24/7, pretty much. No, I just, as random as it is, I just fell into it.
6 foot into it, or was it?
Yeah, pretty
you
much.
You dug a hole and then fell into it.
They're 5 foot, 7 foot, and 9 foot. No,
there you go.
He's not even 6 foot.
There's not even 6 foot. There you go.
No, it's so I originally when I got delisted from Freo, I hadn't even been delisted, but COVID hit.
Yep.
So I had to come home because my partner at the time was living in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So I just came home, and my mate had a job, and he goes, "I've got a job for you if you want it." I'd worked with him before, and I said, "Yep, sweet." And it was a irrigation technician, which was in a cemetery. Because it's also a botanical gardens. It's classified as a botanical gardens.
Oh, wow.
And Springvale, SMCT.
Yes.
So anyway, I just felt I was working there for about a year over that side in Springvale, and then just fixing all the pipes that the grave diggers were breaking.
Yeah.
And then a job came up over at Faulkner and it said grave digger. I was like, you know what? Good money, 2 RDOs. I was like, and I actually live over that side.
Yeah.
I was living in Moody Ponds. Sorry, not Moody Ponds, Keilor East. And so I went for it and was like, I'm probably not going to get it. I've never operated an excavator in my life. Anyway, I got it, and then they put me through all my tickets and got everything. I just went and had my crane course the other day.
I was going to say, like, we couldn't do last week because you're like, I've got training, and then I've got to do my crane exams.
Yes, crane exams.
Wow.
That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I never want to do it again. Thank God I don't have to. Oh, jeez. Anxiety through the roof.
So you've got that now?
Yeah, so just got my C6 crane tickets. All those crazy people you see in the city up on those big cranes. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, as much as the title gravedigger seems a bit barbaric, it's actually, you learn a lot of skills with heavy machinery.
Yeah.
And also it keeps you fit on the shovel because I'm on a shovel every day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, swapping
my
shoulders.
traps are sore.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, no,
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
If there's a message out there for the 16-year-old girl, and this is the big one for me. I do lots of speaking in schools. In the last 2 years, I've spoken to it's 57,000 students all over Australia.
Wow.
And we talk about anger and aggression. And from that, I've had the 16-year-old girl that's come to me and on a regular basis just going, I'm going through some stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going through some stuff. And the stuff that I'm going through, I can't deal with. I can't deal with anymore, you know. So, and we work through what that looks like and we engage them with our well-being, but it's the pressure of the world around them. What advice from, you know, and I'm not trying to bear the weight of the world on you,
No, you're right.
but for somebody who's had so much experience, somebody who's watched through a lot of different experiences and seen different things, what's a message you have for these girls coming through from, you know, in teenagers through high school?
My cousin actually just got drafted 2 years ago, straight out of high school. She was still in high school when she got drafted.
Wow.
She played plays for North, Taylor Gatt.
Oh,
so,
yes, yeah.
Yeah, so, she just lost her granny, so she'll be still partying. But no, advice, I guess, like in life, some of us are probably given an easier route.
Yeah.
I say to little girls that got missed last year, I was like, some girls are going to get it easier than you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you should deter you away from doing what you pursuing what you love.
Yeah.
So I was like, never give up. If this is truly what you want, you will fight and claw at every nook and cranny to get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
But don't hurt people along the way. Don't kind of I found out the hard way when I tried to change who I was to fit into a team that it didn't work out anyway for me because I didn't play good football. So there's so many different little things I could say for advice, but my main one is just always be you.
Yeah.
Because the moment you start to change to suit someone else, you'll lose your way in what your ability is and why you were drafted in the first place as a footballer.
Yeah.
So stay true to you. Second thing is, it's going to come in being an athlete is a roller coaster ride. Like, you are going to see the highest of highs and you will see the lowest of lows. But trying to find that middle ground and level yourself out is so important. So whether that's you need to read a book, you need to go for a walk, you have one friend you always talk to, no matter what it is, you need to find that one thing that kind of is your trigger word that stabilises you or gets you back to your place.
Yeah.
Finding out that's very important. Finding that out early and not just waiting for it to happen. I'm like, I don't need that because I haven't been to that place yet. Like whether it's walking to your farm to see your dog or like just a moment, just go back to that moment. Always just go back to that moment. Whatever that moment may be, or place or person, time. Everyone has their own little unique thing, but...
What's yours?
Mine? It's just sitting on my porch with my nana, to be honest.
That's so cool.
She used to time us running around the porch. Like, she'd sit there, drink her port.
Yeah.
And she'd make an obstacle course around the house. Like, you got to run around the lemon tree, past the boat, or like the boathouse thing she had out the back. Like, she'd make the course, and then she'd sit there and time it. Whether or not she was actually timing it, but she'd give us a time. That was just a moment where I loved doing, like, a sport. Well, it wasn't a sport, but, like, I loved doing that. So, like, and we'd always like, what time do we get, Nana? What time do we get? So, like, just... And even if you don't get picked up in the draft, there are other ways. And, like, don't just give up. Like, a lot of friends I know that have missed the draft and missed it again and missed it again have now been picked up.
Yeah.
And, like, the AFLW is now, it's only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Lists will get bigger. But just because you don't make it the first time doesn't mean you're not going to make it the second time or third time. And the older ones now that are my age and, like, probably 32 and up are all starting to retire now and find other roles within the system. So, like, more spots are going to be open as well. And even if you are a mature-aged athlete, like not 30 yet, or even above 30, like, still if that's what you want, don't give up, because I still find some lists will end up being more on the youth side than the experience side. And they'll be like, you know what, guys, we actually need experience this year. So, like, I'm going to randomly select, like, an older person. So, to me, I think the world's your oyster. But if you give up, then it's not really your passion. Like, just if it's what you want, I know that doesn't sound the right words, but if it's what you want, you'll do anything to get it and you'll sacrifice everything you need to. Why I still play is because I want to protect. Like, I don't know why. I love to protect and feel like that I'm needed to protect people. So, like, me being a part of a team, I'm there to protect them.
When do you reckon that started for you?
I think just always grew up in a rough childhood, so I was always protecting my brothers.
Yeah.
And then when my brothers no longer needed me, I guess that sport came around. And then, like, when I go and play any sport, like, I will protect my team with my body and my life. Like,
Yeah, wow.
And I think that's probably why I still play. And, like, if you can find a reason why you play, you'll do anything to be there. I'll do anything to protect my girls. So, like, whether I'm a captain or not, doesn't matter. Like, when I'm on that footy field, like, I'll protect them with my life. So I think if these young kids have a reason for why they want to play, like, I want to help others and protect them. That's my main reason. It has been for years, to protect and help them in whatever way that is. It could be the tiniest of ways, but it's me giving back to the world. If they find their reason for why they want to play, they'll do anything to get it.
That's amazing. How many of your teammates know that?
Oh, they know it because I'm pretty vocal out there. That's one of the reasons why I'm a leader.
Totally.
No, they know that. I don't ever be violent unless it's called upon. Like, I will never start a fight. I'll never do anything. But when I see people dirty, I've done it once to a girl on a footy field where she came up and punched someone from behind, and I picked her up and threw her and said, "You ever come near my team again, I'll flatten you."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Me?" And I was like, "I'll protect you." Like, when they've done the wrong against someone I love, I'll protect them with all my life.
But as a junior player or somebody new in the system, and they're getting picked on by a more senior,
I don't stand for that either.
and then you do that, their attitude is what? Their attitude is, we are all in. You know, you've protected me, as in you protected me, so now I'm all in. Now I have no
100%.
fear of what that is.
Because it would be scary, like a 16-year-old coming in to play against full-body women. Like, they might be taller than us and bigger than us, but they haven't really learned how to use their body yet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not afraid coming up to someone that's bigger than me because I can use my body strength. These young kids haven't learnt it yet.
How does the protection go for you out in the wider world?
Yeah, if I have a partner, like they're well aware. Like I'm never overly protective of them to a point where it's like I'll only vocalize it or show it if I feel threatened.
Yeah.
And my friends, like I have been beaten up before, like quite severely by a group of people, and I've seen my friends be beaten, and that's probably why it caused me to be beaten up, but I stood my ground enough to help her escape.
Yeah.
And then it shifted to me, but I guess, it's a fight or fly, like that whole, I'm glad I have the fight, I don't want to fly. Like, I figured that out at an early age that I have that instinct. So.
Yeah. But now you're using that in superhero terms to protect everybody else, right?
Well, I think there's enough bad in the world, so if I can add a bit of good to it, and if that's my good, then I'll give it a crack. Totally.
And that's that, you help one person.
That's all I need.
Totally.
Changes one life, and then their life can change someone else's. It's like a chain reaction, so.
100%. We can go here and talk here for another 3 hours, but thank you so much. I'd love to actually do some work with you around youth. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We will see you out in the rugby field again.
Yeah, I know, but we've got 10 days off and then we're back into it.
Miarae, thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Summer Sessions is proudly brought to you by the Palace Hotel, 505 City Road, South Melbourne, where your dogs are welcome too. First Nations owned with Indigenous ingredients. Order your black brews, tea or coffee online now. Local Rules Cafe, Garden City, where genuine hospitality begins. Mahina Wellbeing Programs, where understanding people matters most. And this is another Latu production. Woo!